With the popularity of CrossFit, I mean, it's probably the fastest growing sport in the world, and people just love it. You have people from all kind of different sports wanting to transition to CrossFit, take advantage of their background, either because they're super strong, they're explosive, and they think they kind of do well in that sport. Myself, I know plenty of powerlifters, even Olympic weightlifters that switched to CrossFit, and they never do as well as they think they will. Myself had the same issue for when I switched to CrossFit for a while. I know I'm good at Olympic weightlifting, and I'm pretty strong in the upper body, so it's gonna be easy. Well, my wife kicked my ass, and one of my 63-year-old clients also kicked my ass. So the transition is not always that easy. So I have Karim here with me. Karim competed at the CrossFit Game, also trains several athletes competing at the regional and game levels. Karim is also from track and field background, so he knows what it's like to transition from different sports. I know also that he has worked with, for example, a professional football player that transitioned into CrossFit, becoming a pretty good athlete. So what are the big problems when an athlete with some very, very large strengths try to transition to CrossFit, which will benefit from that strength, but also the problem is you need to be really complete to perform at CrossFit.
Yeah. But first of all, for sure, there's a lot of skills to get. Next, I think I have to talk about muscle fibers a lot. So, for example, if I get the same effort than that football player, we go for a power, doing snatches or clean, for sure they're gonna have like more big fibers than me. So for this, the same rep, you're gonna be able to recruit a little bit more than me, and I need to have like more reps in the bank to get more activation also. But that's the whole point of it. When you're gonna get in CrossFit, you're gonna get more endurance type of effort. Well, those guys can't have to blame it on the number of fibers they get and on the type of fibers they have also. So we have to train them in a way that they have to be able to recruit those little fibers, make the hybrid fibers a little bit more oxidative, and that's the whole point of the training. So they can't get AMRAP and metcons all the time. They gotta go on more cardiovascular type of training, of method, and think about more the fibers than just the CrossFit thing.
I know that I've had that problem myself in the past because I'm fast switch dominant. And not only that, because of my background, my nervous system is super effective at recruiting the fast switch fibers. Now, when you play a power sport or strength sport, you really want to be good at recruiting those fast switch fibers as soon as possible. That's what makes you fast, explosive, powerful. But with CrossFit, the problem is that if you bring those fibers in super soon in the set, then you build up lactic acid and you can't do as many reps. For example, when I was my strongest, I could bench press 200 kilos. I could do 140 for like 5 reps, which is super low. Normally you should have done like 20. But that's because I was recruiting the fast switch fibers right from the start. So that might be a problem. Have you find that these big guys often lack mobility, for example?
Yeah, they lack mobility for sure. But the thing is that in their sports, they don't want them to be too mobile. They just want to be enough mobile to be in the position they do. So, for example, that football player, if he's a D-line, well, he probably don't have to get all that mobility stuff we need in CrossFit, because this is the optimal that you have to be performing in the sport. But when it comes to CrossFit, you got to think about a little bit more gymnastic. You got to get those range of motion and be strong in those range of motion. And that's the whole definition of functional training also, getting stronger in those range of motion. And so that's super important. And what you just said before, talking about how your nervous system is efficient, but how much you were building lactic acid fast. And if you take me as an opposite example, well, my lactic acid buildup helped me to get a better performance.
You can use it for fuel.
I use it as a fuel, exactly, and that's another point. You got to bring those athletes to work in certain anaerobic threshold to help them to be able to work more and that the body can use that lactic acid. And if you take another example also, if you take me as a nervous system, it wasn't so efficient. So I got to find ways for those type of athletes like me to develop the nervous system efficiently without putting too much load on my system, or else I'm just going to get crashed and I'll be able to finish my workout as well as if I would put less intensity. So I got to find other training method. I got to go with more like, for example, power cleans and high box jump. I'm going to put more plyometrics and diminish the load I'm going to put on myself, as opposed to those football guys. They can take that load enough, but I want to keep a certain amount of energy so they can put it in their cardiovascular training also.
So basically the first portion of their transition would be spent on learning the necessary skills, because oftentimes they don't have the skills, and also working more on the energy systems work.
Exactly.
How much strength work would they keep in their training?
Well, it depends on the confidence they have, because I can have someone who really want to, if they put down their weights a little and to trade it for some cardiovascular skills or some gymnastic skills, they don't feel so good, so they need like a couple of strength sessions to get their confidence there. But I am for sure not training them at the same strength training that if I would take someone that has come from an endurance background or gymnastic background or something. Let's say in general preparation, I can go like with more cardiovascular thing a little bit. So let's say we're gonna have like 2 or 3 sessions of strength and power development. When I'm gonna go more into a specific power with lifting, they're gonna go for 3 days, 4 days sometimes. But that's gonna be like the maximum they're gonna get. They're never gonna get a traditional with lifting training format, or else they're just gonna lose that mindset of cardiovascular training, and arriving when it's time to be performant, well, the transition will be too short for them. So that's a couple of errors I did in the past, is that I was doing like strength and power a lot, like because the focus was that in CrossFit, but the focus is in this CrossFit when it's your weakness. You got to be strong enough and powerful enough, but you don't have to forget that also, especially for those kind of athletes.
And about lactic acid, what methods do you use to make them better at utilizing it for fuel instead of lactic acid becoming a limiting factor?
Yeah, I got two approach, because there's 2 anaerobic thresholds. You're gonna one that's gonna be like just under like that 70%, 65% of your VO2 max. So I'm gonna go more into like something a little bit like longer, so they can sustain something long but low intensity. So we're gonna have like to do, for example, run 1.5K, then do some core work, but stay like working out during all that time. I'm gonna make them work also in that higher anaerobic threshold, so high intensity work. I'm gonna start with some monostructural work, so we're gonna play on the air bike and the rower, and just build up a high intensity with a big rest, and then just shorten up the rest. So let's say we're gonna start with...
So gradually they shorten the rest so that they can learn to tolerate the high intensity.
Exactly, so they're gonna go like 10 seconds on, 50 seconds off, like for example 8 sets, and I'm gonna make them working through like something like 20, 25 seconds of hard work, a good rest, but not too high, because I have a nice lactic buildup.
So you want them to live in that lactic acid.
Exactly, and then transition into CrossFit and make them feel the same thing, but into CrossFit, so I can trade my air bike for some thrusters and pull-ups probably, and then they're gonna transition.
So you start with a general movement just to build up lactic acid, then you transfer it to the capacity to do CrossFit movement in that state.
There you go, exactly.
Excellent.
Because if I start with the opposite, well, I'm a little bit I'm a little bit too earlier in my season to do that.
And the skill would suffer.
Exactly.
Excellent. All right, just a victory.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
You're welcome, man.